Paula Lerma.
Here.
We have a motion for the agenda, please.
Actually, I have a motion to move an item to consent.
Okay.
I move that we move item 8A, OE monitoring, to consent since it was discussed on the 14th.
Do we have a second? Discussion? Sarah?
Sherry Bird. Aye. Joe Cusar. Sorry. Stephanie Moran.
Aye.
Nick Sauter.
Aye.
Nancy Stubbs.
Aye. We stand for the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have with us this evening the La Plata Thrive Living Wage Coalition Director, Darren White, who will recognize the district's designation as a living wage employer. Oh, you want to pull the chair up? Sorry about that.
That'll be chair. Well, I'll tell you what, you guys were applied to be certified as a living wage employer, and you guys passed with flying colors. You were certified on July 30th, 2018, and that certification is good for 2 years, till July 2020. And hopefully you can recertify a new living wage. The living wage is $13.31 currently for a single worker, and you guys are paid $13 plus benefits for your workers. And you guys gave over 300 raises to get to certification. That's tremendous. This is the certificate for the display in the administration building. This is the employee poster that informs the employees that their business is certified. That could go into a common employee area in the administration building. We also have a list of all the Plata County employers who are currently certified. There's 92. And we also have the certified living wage stickers. And I've got 14. So there's 13 school facilities and one administration building. That could go on those buildings.
Yeah, that's great.
On the front door, there could be a fixed glass. And we have a brochure talking a little bit about our program, and we can supply more of those if the board needs more information or disseminate this information at all. So there's the packet for you.
That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank you for coming and doing this for us.
Well, thank you
Making
guys
it
so much
special.
for being a certified employer. And a lot of the benefits that come with the program is that we try to spread the word and you give publicity through advertisements and local media. We like to work with you on that. We would like to promote you guys through our Facebook page and our email list about anything you have that you want to get to the public. We also want to offer a jobs page where you can post job openings. You work with me on that.
Okay.
That would be wonderful.
Julie, can you make sure we do this?
Yep. I'm already sending.
Okay. Again, thank you very much.
Can you say something like, if the schools can do it, you can too?
Well, we see a lot of people, a lot of employers, private and public, able to do it. Large employers like this is rare.
Really?
There's not that many. Mercy Regional Medical Center, Start Agent Tools Incorporated, some of the larger employers that you guys have 900 employees. That's a lot of employees.
Second?
I'd like to just say I really feel like what we did here really reflects our mission of continuing to be not only innovative, but guaranteeing equitable educational opportunities, and that we consider our employees, licensed and classified, to be in that category. This is a way to help them get there. So I really feel like being part of the Thrive family really is reflective of a lot from our mission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just put this back in the packet for you.
And Nancy, if I can add,
Sure.
this effort of getting to this level was a year-long process. It started out with a compensation committee for our educational support staff. Mr. White spoke to us on a couple of different occasions, provided him some understanding of the living wage coalition, what some initiatives were happening across the state, across the country. That group of PSB staff worked on a monthly basis for the fall months and made some recommendations for negotiation team. And we got working with that. I think Mr. White spoke to the negotiation team as well, and ultimately it led to a pretty innovative compensation system for our support staff. So it's been a year-long process that could have been done without Jennifer Latham as NISMA president and her colleagues moving us forward. So a great effort of working with the community partner and also our educational support staff and our association. We're also being recognized for some of our work not only through Darren's organization, but the MLE on a panel discussion at the Economic Alliance annual summit on October 24th, discussing fair and competitive wages for our region. So I'm really excited to see that some of the business leaders across the region are seeing the work that we're doing, not only with our teachers, which we did last year, but with our support staff this year as well.
That's great, great work. Thank you.
If I could add, I really appreciate working with the compensation committee and Andy, and being allowed to give 2 presentations was tremendous. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we- Do we have any public participation this evening? All right. We're on 6A, beginning of year updates. Andy Burns, would you like to review that for us?
Sure. So we're in our second full week of school. School got off to a great start last week. Dan and Jackie we covered all the schools on day 1. I hit all the schools over a 2-day period of time. Last week we saw a lot of enthusiasm from our new teachers. I think the convocation that we had the preceding week really set the stage. We've already heard from the Miller staff that might be interested in holding a similar convocation type event mid-year. So that enthusiasm that was started during convocation, thanks to Julian O'Leary, your great work is carried forward as we continue with the semester. We're in the process of continuing some of the professional development. Dylan Cannell is setting up the learning labs for September. Have 4 or 5 of them set up for September, really focusing on some best practice and observation and aiming to improve student achievement across the district. With enrollments, we have an enrollment update that Sarah has passed out to the group. Presently, as of day 6 of the school year, which would have been Monday through yesterday, we're down 50 students from a day 9 comparison last year. So it's not an apples to apples comparison, but on day 9 last year, which would be this Thursday, through this Thursday, we had 4,461 students, not including shared school, not including connection, and not including juniper school. That compares to 4,441, or exactly 50 students behind where we are last year. Sarah and I did just a quick analysis of the last couple of years, and it's pretty safe to say between now and through Labor Day, we stand to gain a couple of additional students each day just by tracking students. Dan sent out in his Monday memo just an encouragement to make sure that our administrative assistants, building leaders, and our registrars are tracking students. And sometimes it can be hit or miss, and it can be just so overwhelming and chaotic that first couple of weeks of school that it really does take us through Labor Day or that 3rd week of school to get accurate head count. So at the beginning of this week, we thought that the shortage was as many as 130 students, but by getting accurate counts, and we're already seeing those gains, we're down to 50 students. I think we'll lessen that gap. When we look at some of our other programs, Connections Academy is reported on here as being 300 students. It's actually now 577. So they're with the schools, and the students are there enrolled in there for 1 week that they're able to register for classes. We were thinking that was going to be close to 535 this year, so we're actually seeing a handful of additional students beyond that, so that's great encouragement news to see. So moving ahead with tracking that, I'm going to provide an update to the board Friday night on how we end up with a B9 comparison, so you've got a true comparative set of numbers. Additional developments that are happening the week of this week, the start of school. Dan will be holding a PCBL meeting this Thursday, it's Friday night, 6 and 7:30. Through our website and other vehicles to encourage great understanding of PCBL across our district campus.
If any of the board members that want to go to that, if you have time, you're welcome to come to it. I'm probably going to go. So if more than 2 are going, we need to know in advance. Anybody think they're going?
I'm sorry, what's the time?
Thursday, 6 p.m.
Okay. Well, if 3 show up, we'll just send one home.
Then I won't go.
He might. Are you interested? I mean, there's no
Why
problem.
don't you just notice it?
Yeah.
Sure, it's great.
Yeah. Especially if somebody that's kicking off the year, it's nice to help as many as we can, yeah. Okay. 6B, school safety and security updates. Andy and Kathy were going to do it, but Kathy couldn't make it, so it's on Andy.
Kathy's up in Denver meeting with the Attorney General's office to discuss some of the new dollars that are being allocated towards school safety. There's a $35 million grant that's been set aside for school safety. Kathy had identified a template for districts to submit applications for that grant process. And so she's really been viewed as a leader across the state in this initiative. That grant proposal will probably open up in October, and then notifications will be sent out in December. So we're really glad to see that Kathy's expertise is being noticed across the state. One of the largest updates that we want to provide is the creation of a school safety advisory board. That's something that came out of the meetings at the high school that John Earl had facilitated and that the board had discussed at the end of the year last year. We've identified 22 members to serve on that committee. 10 are going to be internal 9R individuals, 12 will be external parents, community members, members of the police department, members of state patrol, etc. They're going to be meeting on a monthly basis and will be providing recommendations to Dan in terms of what sort of additional safety measures we should be looking at. That group will work hand in glove with the long-range planning committee that Nancy is the board representative on, because ultimately for the voters for a bond initiative, one of the key components is going to be revolving around safety and security and funding some of those additional measures that we might need to take. At the first meeting for the safety advisory board, which will be this Thursday, Thursday the 30th, so a lot going on this week at 11:30. We would love to have a board member there as an ex officio member, so I don't know if anybody's able to join us or not. It'll be in the board here at 11:30 on August 30th. The group will be looking at some of the recommendations from Isaiah Systems that came to the district last year to do an analysis, looking to see what those recommendations are, what's important, what fits within our community, what are the price tags associated with it, and then setting some goals and objectives moving forward. Let's provide some baseline information to the group, and then use that to set goals and objectives. But we certainly welcome the opportunity to hear back from the board in terms of what your expectations are of this group and how we should be formulating their efforts and their activities, and what sort of report you'd like to see when they finish their work.
Any questions? Yeah, I said it to you earlier kind of flippantly, but there is in the news reports that Betsy DeVos may provide money for guns for schools. I was wondering, I mean, we're a pretty little district. If there was a way to communicate, like, could it be a choice of guns or money for safety, or money for SROs, or money for increased police? I don't know if there's a way that's way up high. I don't know if there's a way to communicate or find out something like that. But I think, you know, like we're contributing to an extra police officer. So it seems like that money maybe could be a choice of how you spend it. I don't know.
I think what I read said it will be up to school boards as to whether or not they want to apply for that funding and use that funding for that purpose.
That's what I was wondering, if we have a choice to get it or not, could you have a choice to how you use it? Probably not, but might you would keep an eye on it at least. Yeah.
Other items of related to safety and security, Dan and I have engaged with the police department on conversations with additional school resource officers. They provided us with some information on what that would entail. We're going to be working closely with the finance department and SAM to see if we put our financial ability to follow through with that. But one of the large recommendations that we had heard from the group that headed the high school was that additional presence of the school resource officer. So we had the ability, the police department is willing to support it and partner in this process as well. So we'll put forth a recommendation to the board here, either in the next meeting after we work a little more closely with SAM on what the financial opportunities are associated with it. This year we've also added a board security specialist in the high school. It's actually former chief of police out of the college, Arthur Eo. He's been doing law enforcement for over 40 years, and that's a great individual. When I think of Arnold, I worked with him at the college, and Jerry knows him. He's really focused on relationship building, and it's so nicely what John is doing in the high school. You need to get to know the students. Once they open up and develop that rapport, then students will share information, be more comfortable, and you can really offset and prevent some tragedies by getting to know your students. So I think John's philosophy, Arnold, is a perfect extension of what John is trying to do at the high school. So we're really excited about that. We have implemented the ballistic film system on all of our external entry doorways, and then we'll be rolling out the Raptor visitor management system in the beginning, probably mid-part of September. We're going to be using our September 10th Professional Development Day to train our administrative assistants on that Raptor system. But that system will allow somebody to come in the door, check in, and they will go through a criminal background check for sexual assaults or sexual or significant felonies to ensure the safety of our students before we let somebody into it. We're also going to be working with Los Compañeros, so they have a local Hispanic advocacy group to make sure that any of our undocumented families feel comfortable with the system, that they're not going to feel alienated, that they can't come into the schools if they don't have a government-issued ID. So we're trying to put some talking points in that so that we can work with some of our Hispanic families to ensure that they still feel welcome in our schools despite some changes that way. So I think that will be important. That meeting is scheduled for later this week.
So what documentation do they use?
So you can use a government ID, so
Okay, they don't have a
state
government
ID or passport, and then if somebody is not does not possess that or doesn't have it on their body, you can keystroke their information in with name and birth date, and you can do a search. It might not be as accurate that way, but just name and birth date, you can do additional search with limited information without an ID. A little more time consuming to do on the front end, but once somebody is in the system, either through an ID or we loaded them in the system, it's a quick look up that second visit, irrespective of the school. So you register initially if you're into a high school, you could then go to Riverview or you could go to Sunnyside because you're already in the macro system.
Is it possible to provide some sort of ID so they know they're in the system? They don't have it. It's fairly simple.
You could. We want to be careful of the cost. The cost that we're going to be willing to incur, we pass it on to the families. The cost of our IDs are really about $2 to $3 when you're actually looking at the actual cost. We could issue that. We do have hundreds of visitors in the schools each day, and so it would speed things up for them. Just looking at how we manage the cost of that. So that's interesting that we can talk about.
If we could do it just for parents, maybe.
Well, no, yeah, I'm just talking about a certain population that doesn't have ID. Basically, they don't have the ID, so when they go, they're a little different than the people in front and back, so they have cars.
Could we give them a school ID?
I'm thinking more about along those lines.
So we're in dialogue on a regular basis
Okay.
with the vendor, and that was one of our initial questions, is that we wanted to ensure that we still came across as a welcoming community for our families. So they had a couple ideas, and so we're just taking New Mexico, California, we're going to go back to them and get a sense of how they should are. So I think that's a good idea for us to see what their best practices are.
Thank you.
Have you noticed anything at your school different, or is there a buzz about safety or anything happening on campus?
We have been more aware of students and like where they're at. I have noticed
Just
I have noticed that more students actually show up to school. Our system is a little different than last year, so it can contribute to the way students attend school because of the class setup is different as well. But
I think it's positive or negative?
I feel like it's gotten positive because students are actually showing up to classes because they have such short amount of time to like get the classes done out of the way. So with the new experiences is what we call them. It's actually been really positive and students have been doing really good. My cousin actually just started there too, and she is a freshman this year. She actually really likes it for her birthday. And usually she misses like 4 out of 5 days, but now she's there every day. So
That's great. Thank you.
We had one aspect of the safety update not go as smoothly as we'd like, and that's the whole badging process. So I do appreciate the principals and your staff's flexibility and patience in this process. We shifted to a new online blocking mechanism this year. Basically, the old system, the parts were obsolete. We couldn't get replacement parts. We were successful in getting a best grant to pay for a good portion, about 35% of that. But with a couple switches in IT servers and remaining changes, it put us significantly behind the 8 ball. So we're still in the process of getting a handful of IDs out to the staff, and we do know that that's great as partnerships across the school. I'm meeting with Kathy Morris, who's been spearheading this project, and Mike Hall to see what we can do to facilitate this and ensure that everybody has IDs. So principals, if you haven't notified Kathy of anybody that's still missing an ID, I know we got a handful of requests today, please let us know and we can make sure to get those taken care of as quickly as possible. So it was definitely a little bumpy. We all worked as quickly as we could. Once we identified the problem, we were able to identify a solution on getting things out. They didn't get out to the last day before school, or the Friday before school began, and even at that point, there's still a couple missing. So we do appreciate the patience with the principals and their teachers as we're still finalizing this. Definitely some lessons learned there that ultimately should create a better safety access process for our teachers and tracking for some teachers and staff going in and out of our
So, and we talked a little bit with Dan about trying to publicize and give the community an update about these things like the ballistic film. Are you going to invite the media to the school safety advisory committee? What's the right place to let the media know and let them know what we've accomplished since we had the big forum?
Absolutely. So we've already working with Julie on some updates that will go out to the community members. We're also going to be building a website, if it's not built already, for the safety group. We'll mimic the website that we have for the long-range planning committee. So each of the month's minutes are posted on there. Discussions and handouts will be available there. And then we can, through just our regular vehicles, share information and drive people to that website just so that they can see some of the updates as well. So.
Anyone else? Moving on, 6C Long Range Planning Committee update. I did go to the meeting, but Andy's in charge and knows more. I was impressed with the turnout, community members and staff members that show up every time for this. It's amazing to make the time for it. One thing I did note at the meeting was the committee was reminded that they're an advisory committee. They're not making decisions. It's still going to the school district that makes the final decisions on properties and facilities and things like that. But there were some interesting possibilities out there, so I'll let Andy take over.
At our last meeting, the primary focus was on a presentation by John Gillum, the real estate member. John, as you probably know, has been a huge advocate of NIR. Initially started volunteering for our DAC, and then for the last 8 years, I believe, he's been our finance advisor, so a great supporter. But through his work as a real estate agent, has provided an additional framework, an additional perspective for us to look at some of the real estate opportunities associated with some of the in-holdings that we hold, specifically looking at this building and what the future of this building will be. As I think the board member saw, there's an article in the paper that Al Harper has been scoping out our building. He came unsolicited about 3 weeks ago to look at the building. Laura Polito was able to take time out of her schedule to meet with him and walking around. We've since had 2 subsequent conversations. His goal, as the article suggested, would be to turn this building into a convention center or an arts facility as well. So he's got some grandiose ideas on this. And John was walking us through if we were going to liquidate this building, what would be some real estate opportunities for us. Presently, the district has a handful of properties going roughly from north to south. We have a 17-acre parcel up at Edgemont on the west side, the Edgemont Highlands area. As you go down to town, we have about a 3.1-acre parcel at Twin Buttes. We have a 40-acre parcel out of Three Springs. We have a 70-acre parcel adjacent to that off of County Road 234 by Elmore's Corner. And then we have a 1.1-acre parcel off of Cherry Creek Road or Drive over by Mancus Hill. So not a whole lot of development opportunity associated with that. The key areas that we're looking at would probably be in the Three Springs area. 2 months ago, Roger Zomaritis from the Economic Alliance came and spoke to the group and looked at where there's growth happening, specifically growth of families, where families are living, as you wouldn't be surprised, Three Springs definitely pops up, and that's where they're seeing a lot of growth occurring. There's an opportunity to potentially put in an elementary school and a middle school there. Ultimately, this group, the Long Range Planning Committee, would be making recommendations to the board in terms of how we would move forward, if at all, with some building of a new site and what we would do in terms of liquidating this building. The group is also looking at existing facility needs and where capital projects. Each year we spend between $1 and maybe $1.5 million in our capital projects. In a PURES model, according to the state, we should be spending about $6 million in our capital projects. So we're not keeping up with what we need to be doing, and so additional monies that could be leveraged from a bond initiative would help us overcome that. And then the third aspect would be safety and security, and that is where the role of its school safety advisory group really would come into play in terms of making recommendations to the Long Range Planning Committee and to the board in terms of what we need to be looking at to ensure the safety of our schools and how to allocate dollars to ensure that's to be the case. In addition to John's presentation, we also heard from our Fire Marshal, Corolla Hanks, who spoke to the group on some of the safety issues that she's been noting in her fire reports to the district, but just taking a pragmatic stance and realize that the school doesn't have the dollars to invest $50,000, $60,000 in some larger issues. And so there could be some issues that have been on our inspection reports on a regular basis over the last couple of years. At a certain point, both the fire marshal, out of obligation of her duty, and the district need to address these head on. And so in addition to items such as ballistic film or SROs, we need to be looking at safety measures such as uneven concrete at some of our buildings that could create tripping hazards and safety hazards as well. Those are going to be the 3 key tenets that the group has been looking at and will continue to look at. We're going to use our next meeting to do 2 things. We're going to have a presentation from an outside organization on Initiative 93, which would also be Amendment 93 if it passes. That would be an additional income tax surcharge on high-income earners. which could generate as much as $8 million per year for the New England School District. So before we finalize our recommendation to the Board of Education, we really want to see what the voters across the state say about that initiative, because that could influence the amount of dollars that we would request through a bond initiative. But we'll use our meeting in September to hear about the initiative 93, and then also begin to formulate a survey that we would send out to our community. What do they value in terms of safety and security? What do they value in terms of capital projects? And what are their thoughts on new schools, including the locations of these various sites that we have as well?
Questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Andy. 6D, health insurance update. Guess who?
I'm going to ask Samantha Gallagher to come up and join me for this as well. As the board knows, last year we had a challenging conversation in terms of looking at our health insurance fund. Over the last couple of years, that fund balance has gone down from as high as about $3.5 million till you'll learn a new number here in a few minutes. So we made some painful choices as a district to impact our health insurance for our individuals. Rates went up $40, co-pays went up, and then prescription drug costs went up $5 for co-pay as well. We also increased from the district's liability standpoint our individual stop loss from $150,000 to $200,000. So for anybody that has claims and it's a single individual, we would pay not from $150,000, which was last year's rate, now up to $200,000. So we're quote unquote on the hook for an additional $50,000. That if no one reaches that north of $150,000 stop loss figure this year, we would recognize about $225,000 worth of savings. It's likely that we may have one or two full days of their dependents in that situation this year. So the notion that we'll be able to reap all of those potential fund savings from those four categories that I just mentioned that total right around $850,000. That's probably a maximum. And we're already seeing the employee contributions raising that $40 rate. That $40 increase drove behavior to our free plan. And as you know, for our master agreement, we're fortunate to provide a free insurance plan for our employees. We're hoping to realize about $215,000 in savings to that employee contribution, savings and additional revenue. However, we only brought in about $135,000. So we're starting to see that those potential fund savings might not be as great as we had been led to believe by our insurance broker. That coupled with some additional information, we really thought that it was important to bring to the board's attention some of our concerns with the sustainability of our health insurance rules. Sam?
Yeah. So you guys probably have in front of you a couple of items. One is the unadjusted fund balance as of June 30th, which is currently sitting at $992,000. Basically what that shows you is that we overspent the fund by about $1.3 million last year. So if that stays on target, we will not have a health insurance fund as of the end of next year. In the first month, between July 5th and August 6th, we paid out $722,000 in claims. Our average collection from employees in the district is about $400,000 to $450,000 a month. So we are spending big. We had about 14 individuals. They didn't hit the stop loss, but they hit over that 50% last year, which equates to over $1 million in claims for just those 14 individuals alone. So we're in a fairly precarious situation. We spent about $984,000 in prescription claims. So overall, we need to do something. And like Andy said, we talked about what it is, what are the things that we can do, and I think we're looking into that. And we're looking at trying to compare ourselves with others in the region and other school districts our size to kind of see where we're at comparison because we've all heard things, but it's different to hear versus to look and actually see. But I would hazard a guess, based on my experience, that we are still greatly undercharging our employees for health insurance. It's just an expensive business. So, any questions?
What does that mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
The question is, mid-year adjustments could be something that we're looking at prior to getting that. Sam and I are meeting with our insurance brokers, our local brokerage firm, running insurance professionals. They're over on the Florida Road back red to get a sense of this information, the new accurate figures through June 30th of this year, see what their professional recommendations are as well. Last year we had an insurance committee meet on a regular basis. They helped identify some of these potential savings and cost saving mechanisms to maintain the sustainability of this fund. They've started to meet again in the future. When I talk about the sustainability of the fund, we're partially self-funded, so we pay our claims up to a certain point. The option beside that would be the funded program that you're not paying your claims at all. It's sold exclusively by the brokers and by the insurance carriers and providers. That comes at a premium. When we looked at that last year, you would see probably an additional $100, maybe $150 per month per individual in terms of moving from partially self-funded to fully funded programs. So we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. But if we continue to dip into savings, spending more in claims in terms of what we're getting in and health insurance premiums, we're going to run out of money at that fund balance. Potentially, we have to do one of two things. One would be to make those mid-year adjustments. Two would be to borrow from the general fund balance, which is not something that I think the board would be interested in doing. And then the third scenario, which would be potentially in 2019 and 20, the work of the insurance committee this past year was to identify 3 to 4 firms for RFP process for this upcoming year. So we went from 9 RFP submissions down to 4, and on September 27th, the insurance committee will hear 20 to 25-minute presentations from those 4 semifinalists on, we've been very transparent with them, the state of our affairs and what strategies, what solutions do they have, what connections do they have with the health insurance providers and hospitals and caregivers to turn this around, because we do have a strong desire to be partially self-funded, because in the end that is saving money for our district. It does mean more work for Sam's office and Laura's office, but in the end it's going to save money, and we've been successful with being a very competitively priced health insurance plan. It's something that we support and strive for, but unfortunately the last couple of years we've had a couple large years of claims, and if we continue down this pathway, those solutions are exactly what it said, mid-year adjustments, borrowing from the general fund balance, or potentially switching carriers after that RFP process, or moving to a fully funded program, which would have a huge financial impact on all of our employees.
Questions?
I just want to make sure I heard you right, Sam. Did you say 1 month's claim from July to August was like $720
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we paid $722,000
for 1 month?
For 1 month. It is a high claim month, simply because people
Summer,
have time
it's
off
and
and
they-
they have
they-
time to get things done.
So that's not that abnormal.
It's not that abnormal, but it is trending high.
With the exception of summer, just for that reason you said, a regular month is about $375,000, so it's about twice that amount. But you do realize people do have time off, and might be working, might get that procedure done. So I would say it's abnormal, something that we need to be watching closely. Really be useful to see how
Right.
August and September numbers are. If we trend downward closer to that 375 historic figure that we've seen, like clockwork for most of the months.
Thank you.
It kind of is a two-edged sword though, because it's nice that they wait till summer to do the procedures and don't take the days off, but then it does hit us all at once like that. Any other questions? Where's my insurance?
will.
Nancy, as you see.
Sorry? Go ahead, Sherry.
No, I just said, we don't really know what's gonna happen with the Affordable Care Act.
Later tonight, the board is going to be looking at BCO4 Exhibit B for the Finance Advisory Committee. And those charges were updated based upon your conversation on August 14th. Given this conversation and Sam's recommendation, my recommendation, that we look at adding a charge, looking at maintaining sustainability or having the fact look into how to maintain the sustainability of the health insurance pool. They did some work with us last year, and ultimately they provided a recommendation to the group, to the board, that the board accepted, and that was those potential savings that we've identified. So they were really instrumental in helping us finalize some of those ideas and some of those potential savings. Given the situation we're in, I think it would be a strong recommendation for you to consider adding something to that for their charges.
Thank you, Sam. 6E, proposed district curriculum policy revisions. Jackie, would you like to come up? And she's on her way. Ooh, lady in red.
So you have 4 policies, district policies in front of you that we've worked at revising. We began the revision process last spring to align our policies, our curriculum and instruction policies, with personalized competency-based learning, national and state requirements, Colorado academic standards.
They were
They
attached
are-
last week, but.
They're in the, if you go to 10D,
Okay.
they're all attached there because that's the superintendent's consent objective. You're welcome. Except for the 2 that are attached to 7A, because those are district policies that I'll get to after and board policies after I go through the district policies. Okay, so we'll start with the ones in 10D first. So the first proposed policy is IA, the instructional program, and this will replace our active policy, which is IA, also the instructional rules and learning objectives. And the difference between the 2 policies is that this outlines the academic achievement, optimizing academic achievement for all students, ensuring that all students are prepared for post-secondary education, college, career, and community. And that's aligned with our guiding principles. We also developed an array. In here, we identified the development of an array of learning pathways that hold every student to meeting or exceeding the district's content area standards and performance indicators aligned to the Colorado academic standards. And again, that is the crosswalk between the differences in the 2 policies. It outlines, this new policy outlines the developed content area standards and performance indicators in reading, writing, and communication, mathematics, science, social studies, visual and performing arts, health and physical education, world language, to set the academic expectations and scoring criteria that are consistently applied with all students to determine proficiency, aligned to the proficiency levels on the performance indicators. So as you can see, the language in the new policy is aligned with the language of personalized competency-based learning. Also embedded in the policy, we identified the Durango 9R guiding principles, which are 10 principles that guides our approach to personalized competency-based education, promotion, and graduation. And those are the same 10 principles that we use in PCBL. Any questions on that policy?
Not on the policy itself. If you have a question, Andy, you can give an opinion as well. My question is, it's been 11 years since it's been revised.
Yes.
I get that, it falls off. Is this something that we have to put on a clock, like say, okay, every 5 years or something like that?
Yeah.
And how out of date was it when?
It was still in alignment with the mission and the vision of a standards-based curriculum, which was outlined actually 10 or 11 years ago.
Okay.
So it wasn't far off from the traditional model of education,
Okay.
but certainly not aligned with personalized competency-based learning and the work that we've been doing in that area for the last 2 years. We review, policies should be reviewed every summer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to live in reality. 11 years is too long for reality.
I think so.
My hair was brown.
Yeah, so is mine. So yes, I do think 2 years, 11 years is
Yeah, so,
too long a period of time.
okay.
Any other questions? Can I just ask you, since it was 11 years, but if you go back to before we started PCBL, and you looked at what it was then, what you had to modify, was there a lot of changes or just kind of updating?
Updating and language changes. We've become very particular about the language that we're using so that we're developing a common understanding with a common language across the district and aligning the policy with that language in our guiding documents was really important to do.
These are the policies that you have seen the fruits of your CASB dollars over the year.
Yes.
CASB legislative team has provided any updates to us. Those are boilerplates that are applied across the districts, as Jackie said, then we internalize and see what works. How is our model different, such as personal competency, and then critically examining what they're providing us and making changes. So there are any changes across the state that's coming out through the CASB process.
So the second policy that you have in front of you that's a district policy is policy IJ. And policy IJ is the instructional resources and materials policy, which we currently have an IJ, instructional resources and materials. And we also have an IL, the evaluation of instructional programs. And this policy combines the two. There was very little wordsmithing done in these two policies, except with the addition of the alignment with the district content area standards and performance indicators aligned to Colorado academic standards.
Questions?
The next policy is IJR, and it's a district regulation, and it's the Instructional Resources and Materials Review and Selection. This replaces IJJ, which is our textbook selection and adoption, IJK, the supplementary materials selection and adoption, and IJL, library materials selection and adoption. So by aligning our district instructional program with the principles of personalized competency-based learning and our guiding principles, we are looking at all of the materials and resources that we use to support PCBL and the instruction in any setting, be it in a classroom, outside of the classroom, library setting. So one policy will replace those three. And then along with that is the alignment to PCBL and then the structure that will be used for instructional resources and materials review. In the past, it's always been a textbook. We've adopted a textbook series. And today, school leaders have the opportunity, based on their curriculum maps and some of the demonstrations of learning, to look at materials that support the instruction in those classrooms, and those materials can take on a wide suite of instructional materials aligned to performance indicators and curriculum maps. So it's not a single one-size-fits-all textbook series for the district.
Are you finding that that's the direction that especially like social studies science is going?
Absolutely.
Jackie, how aware of the teachers are these policies? You know, sometimes we get complaints. Nobody really consulted me about this new series. I don't feel like we had as much of a voice. How are these conveyed to the teachers and where they can learn about their ability to have input?
So last year, before the policy, obviously the policy is not in place. The old policies still stand until we review it here tonight. The Curriculum and Assessment Department, along with the Instruction and PD Department, did a soft roll-up of principles on the process for material selection and adoption. And the timing was not great, and we got great feedback from our principals on the process as well as the application form itself, and adjustments are being made this year to reflect the input that we received from school leaders. The fourth district policy is IK, which is the academic achievement, ensuring all students meet standards. And that replaces the existing IK, which is just titled Academic Achievement. Most of this policy comes from CASB, with the addition of the language in personalized competency-based learning. A lot of the language in here is around the appropriate academic supports essential to the success of every student in our school. And we've identified that that encompasses a broad array of educational strategies, including grouping strategies, alternative ways of creating advisories, faculty and volunteer advisories. We've identified college and career services as part of a support system, tutoring and mentoring programs, supplemental courses and instructional opportunities, summer and vacation break programs, after school, off-site learning programs, and concurrent enrollment courses. So we took the breadth of all of the various ways in which students could be supported, and not only achieving their learning and with respect to the performance indicators, but also creating those individual pathways. So any other questions about that? Okay, those are the district policies that are part of the superintendent's review on the consent agenda. And if I can move into the next part of the agenda, which is 7A, the proposed board policy revisions. And we have two proposed board policies, and these are actually your policies that will need a vote by the board to be carried out. And so the first policy is IG, and it's the curriculum review and development. And again, we took the same approach, looking at the existing policy, and there are three policies that this will replace: IGA, curriculum development; IGD, curriculum adoption; and IGF, curriculum review. And it's the same process that we used on the instructional side. And again, alignment with the personalized competency-based learning language.
This is your first reading, so this will come back in September.
Yes. Yeah, you won't vote on this. So a pretty short policy that identifies that we need to review curriculum at regular intervals to ensure that they're aligned. And 11 years is too long.
We don't have
I'm
a,
going to ask what
Well, typically, curriculum should be reviewed on an ongoing basis, on a yearly basis.
so we don't have the typical cycle of one subject a year and it comes around.
We did. In the past, we had like a 7-year cycle. But with the movement towards personalized competency-based learning, not only do our instructional materials in the classrooms support that, we're not adopting at the district level curriculum that is adopted curriculum district-wide. So any questions on that particular IG policy?
questions?
Okay, I'll move on to district regulation, and this is the companion to that policy. It's IGR, which is the regulation, and it is the curriculum review and development regulation. And this policy, this regulation, actually follows the same format as the instructional regulation that is a district regulation. Talks about the alignment to content area standards, performance indicators in the Colorado academic standards, that courses offered at each campus, the units and lessons that teachers teach, the assignments and the projects given to students, and the demonstrations of learning used to evaluate student learning are all part of our curriculum process for ensuring that students graduate prepared for post-secondary education, college, career, and community. It states in the policy that regular review of state and local assessment data guides our decision-making process, that the review of course requests will be, again, through that lens of personalized competency-based learning, content area standards, and performance indicators, and that this will support teachers and school leaders in curriculum mapping and unit design aimed at those performance indicators within a grade standard.
Questions?
So this is going to help parents quite a bit, I think, if we actually make all this happen.
Absolutely. I think the other thing is that when your policy is in alignment with your practice, then there's very little room for interpretation, that you can point to policies being the foundation of why personalized competency-based learning, why we've adopted the instructional and curriculum programs that we have.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a lot of work. Thank you and
Well,
your team.
thank Leanne for her very systematic and thorough review over the last several months of really doing a crosswalk between our existing policies and the policies that we do need in place to support the personalized competency-based learning system that is in its development. And there are many other policies that are continuing, that are in review right now, that will probably be bringing policies on a regular basis to the board this year. Our intent is to go through all of them.
Great. And thank you for not using too many acronyms.
I tried them to.
I think, in this setting, I think it's really important. Thank you. All right, 7B. She went through so many, I lost my place. 7B, BC04 Exhibit B revisions. This is the Finance Advisory Committee's recommended changes. And we had seen them, and Andy, you said we wanted to add something.
Sure, so this is what the board had worked
Oh,
on.
wait, I'm sorry, we need a motion. Sorry. We have a motion. You might want to change it to.
Yeah, I'm gonna change it. I move that the board approve the BC04 Exhibit B revisions as amended. As to be amended.
Has to be amended. Second.
Sure, so at your work session on August 14th, we went through some recommendations from FAC. We heard from Steve Riddell, the co-chair, Joe Kusar, and I had sat down and had incorporated many of his suggestions into a red line version that we worked through. Sarah has typed those up, and you have the updated version here for you. No additional changes based upon what we had discussed, with the exception of the conversation tonight, adding some language, and I would say insurance plan.
So that would be like Roman numeral 8, am I reading that right? Okay. Want to talk about wording again, Andy, that they review?
Sure, so under C, Roman numeral 8.
Actually, I think we should make it Roman numeral 2, since it seems to be a priority right now. Move everything down.
So make it 2.
Long-term financial. But, yeah, I think it would be great.
And I think given the severity of the situation that we seem to be in, having a separate bullet point would, I think, raise the prominence to fact and really encourage them to treat it seriously. I would see language to the effect of review the current health insurance fund and make recommendations for long-term sustainability.
Yeah, that sounds good. I accept that.
For long-term.
Is that what you did then?
Yep, I have, review the current actions, fund and recommendations for
Any other comments or? Okay, should we vote on it as amended?
Sherry Bird, aye. Stephanie Moran,
Aye.
Nick Souter,
Aye.
Nancy Stubbs.
Aye. 7C, Colorado Digital BOCES membership. We need a motion that we can talk about and explain it.
I move that the board approves joining Education Re-envision BOCES, formerly the Colorado Digital BOCES, with the appointment of a board member serving as the district's representative, subject to the BOCES board approval of membership.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Dan and Marcy and I met with the gentleman from, yes, I don't know. No, it's a statewide BOCES being formed, and you're going to help me with this. I'll give the short version and you need the big version. Okay, we have an AU, and this is a BOCES that's going to be digital.
That's an acronym.
What is it here? Administrative unit. I was thinking of it already. That's why we have acronyms, because we don't know what they are. So there is a new digital AU, BOCES, AU. And a U-stern.
Sure. It's a digital BOCES. It's really grown out of Falcon 49 School District just north of Colorado Springs to provide digital and online services to many members. They're working not only with Falcon but a couple other school districts. As we look at some of the needs that Mancos has here in our backyard, they are still a member of the standalone BOCES, but by going down this pathway of becoming a member of the digital BOCES, it would begin the switching process for them to move forward. Dan is asking that we move forward with this so that we can provide support and show support for a neighboring school district. If we become a member, this would allow us to provide services to Mancos to help them with some of their needs moving forward. So we encountered some issues with the Durango Cooperative, and I think this would allow us to overcome some of those issues and concern by going down this pathway and seeking the ability or approval for him to join the BOCES. May or may not be, and we will. Mancos still has to go through the approval process. They have to submit documentation by this Friday. Having support from Durango, I think, will go a long way in securing their application through the digital BOCES. With that, then Durango could move ahead with joining the digital BOCES, and as a member, have the ability to be contracted for services by other members, i.e., Mancos.
I just wanted, when I went to the dinner at first, I thought, oh boy, this is a sales pitch. They're going to try to get us into something and commit us to something. And confusion with, well, you have the AUs and we need the AU, but we have our AU and you have yours. What it finally boiled down to was this would enable their unit to buy services from us. It would not commit us to taking on more obligations. It would allow us to provide services for payment to Mancus, and if they expand, it could go to Silverton or some other small districts around. We need to stick to what is the financial commitment, what is the obligation figure, but tie it into our past concerns for the communities near us that are not happy in the situations they're in now.
This would be cost neutral to the district, so there's no cost for us to join. It's a neutral proposition, and then moving forward, we would reclaim any dollars on that fee-for-service basis so that we could be providing to Mancus or down the road with other entities. If a board member wanted to be on that BOCES board, just as in the past we've had members on the local BOCES board, you could do that. They're willing to do that, and that would allow you to stay apprised of any other partnership opportunities or ability to look at other districts that might be wanting to use this model. But initially it's set up to support potentially a local district Mancus that's maybe not getting the services that they would like to see from the existing entity. Dan has reached out to the executive director of the BOCES Association across the state, Dale McCall, and he's supportive of this as well. So that support from the BOCES organization as well as Mancus, obviously, because they're moving ahead on their application process and will be turning in documentation this week.
Questions?
Yeah. So I'm unclear what service we join, what service do they provide, and then what service do we provide?
The services that they would provide to us would, we really would not be tapping into any of the services they would provide. We're handling our own expectations, our own services by the great work that Marcy is doing for us. The services that we would be providing would be up to Mancus and what they're determining. So based upon their needs and their expectations, where they're not seeing support from the local agencies.
So maybe I'm obtuse in what purpose does this group provide us a mechanism to be able to provide for needs.
And I want to
State-wise, why can we do that, but we can't do it the other way?
I want to piggyback on that, because to me, it's a structural workaround. I'm not sure that San Juan BOCES, I mean, if I were San Juan BOCES, I might be calling the state and saying, this is a structural workaround, we don't like it. Have we looked at that piece? Do we? Because that's in essence what it is, because it is cost neutral. Dan did a pretty good job of explaining all that.
The only advantage to us is that it does take some work off of Marcy. If we went the other way, she would be managing all of the services and payments and things like this. And this way, she provides people. She doesn't have to handle the bookkeeping and accounting that goes with it. I think the state is becoming aware that some people are not happy with the BOCES that we have now, San Juan BOCES. And this might be a way to let people be more happy. I don't know what's happening at the state level, but there has been some discussion up there, I know, about the situation.
Yeah, McCall is definitely aware of the situation. He's the executive director of BOCES, and so this is something that he sees from his perspective, even though he is supporting the various BOCES across the state. It's an appropriate workaround. So, the support there. Obviously, San Juan BOCES is concerned, and as you know,
Could they join?
I don't know if a BOCES could join another BOCES, but
Yeah.
So, I actually sticking with that. So, you could call it a workaround, but it sounds like this is more of an evolution. You're doing more stuff digitally. You're doing the management of stuff, less by centralizing it, so you get some of those efficiencies. So I'm picturing it as something beyond a workaround. But to your point, the BOCES should be able to. I would say that the BOCES, if it was really not just a workaround, BOCES should be able to join the digital BOCES and also gain the efficiencies. So that actually is some test to see if they would be stopped from doing such a thing.
But we're not a BOCES now, we're an AU.
I understand, but this is a new BOCES that we are getting attached to. And
The other thing for the San Juan would be, they really get struggled with the distance between schools. And perhaps, they can evolve whatever way they want, but some of the talk has been that they could concentrate on the eastern side and not try to do both sides of the valleys. Anyway, there's a lot of choices, but our key is, how does it affect us? What are the finances? And do we feel like this is the direction we want to go? The motion was to.
no, I'm looking at reading.
Oh,
So, Madam President, do you recommend we do this based on your sales pitch that you heard, or?
after discussions with Dan and Andy, I had a different view about sales pitch term.
I know, but I'm going to your starting point to where you ended up. so.
Yeah.
And you made it, I seconded it.
Yeah.
We got
So
that
we're approving the
backwards.
membership. Let's be clear about what we're voting on today. We're approving Dan to go forward with
But you
membership.
have the authority to join. It will largely depend on the fate of Memphis and what happens there. But voting tonight, signal for the digital BOCES and the BOCES across the state, this is the intention that the district is wanting to provide those services to a neighboring district. But they've got to go ahead with their process and request the same on BOCES and the digital BOCES.
Do you make some didn't, or for some reason they don't meet their deadline, we still want to join?
It's completely cost neutral. Dan has told us that, you've told us that.
There's an immediate need or request to do that, so we could have it in the back pocket, as I think Nancy had mentioned. There could be other districts, i.e. Silverton or others in the area that could take advantage of it. Silverton is not a part of this, they're part of the San Juan BOCES, so, but to our knowledge, we'd be doing this as a service to provide those services to neighbors right now.
Sarah, are you able to correct it and make it the motion made by Nick and with my second? That's right, isn't it?
No, I thought the previous one was that.
Oh, it's the previous one.
Basically, we're giving permission to join an organization if it goes forward.
Do we need to add language about cost neutrality into the motions? Since that seems to be a concern.
Based on our conversations, or Dan's conversations with Ken Witt from the digital BOCES, it's clear that there's no cost associated with it. So I think it's implied, however, to protect your interests. I see no issue with that recommendation. And I think when I look at the work that the board and Dan had started a couple years ago and conversations with Memphis, there's still a need. They're a struggling district in terms of getting the support, getting the services. They don't feel that San Juan BOCES is delivering on their expectations and their needs. And so this is just that evolution, to use a mixed term, in terms of the conversation that we started a couple years ago. So I think it's a wise move and something that delivers on conversations that have been in place for a couple of years now.
And being an online BOCES, they should have fewer expenses than the in-order BOCES that it's an update in our area now.
That's what us IT folks always hope.
Are we ready to vote?
Sure.
Okay. Sarah?
Sherry Bird, aye. Stephanie Moran.
Aye.
Nick Sauter.
Aye.
Nancy Stubbs.
Aye. Okay, 8A is the only monitoring that will move to consensus, right? Consent.
Yeah.
So going on to 8B, state assessment data. Jackie, you're up again.
I just want to say that I am a poor substitute for Leanne, who is in Denver, by the way. She was asked to join a task force at the state level on personalized competency-based learning and its implications for state.
We're just all over the place.
We are. Very good. So what you have in front of you are 4 documents. The comparison of state and district data of a score of 4 or higher on CMAS, which is the 2 categories that either meets or exceeds expectations. A comparison of a score of 3 or higher on CMAS, which includes the approaching category. And we've done this for the last 2 years as a result of colleges accepting 3 or higher as a standard for graduation. And then we have the district CMAS growth report and the district PSAT and SAT growth reports. So we want to start with just kind of an overview. The student services team, as the raw data has been available, and we've been getting the data from the state. We've been meeting with Dan to analyze the preliminary data and looking for trends, looking for causes of celebration, and looking for opportunities for growth. And while we continue to outperform the state in many areas, our achievement in growth at the district level, as you can see, is pretty stagnant. It's pretty flat this year. And we do have many causes for celebrations at some of our schools. Math continues to be an area of concern for us, as well as the performance of students who are in our subpopulation categories. Our females continue to outperform our males in just about every area, and our students who are on IEPs are not growing at the rate that we would expect them to be growing. And they're certainly not achieving at our expected rate of achievement. And so when we started to dig a little deeper, we started to look at the subclaim areas. And so what the state data does is it breaks down not just the composite score, but then you get to take a look at what is that composite score made up of. And when we look at our subclaim areas in math, mathematical reasoning is an area of concern for us, and that's right in alignment with what we had predicted last spring and had targeted our math support from our instructional specialists and our curriculum specialists in terms of helping our teachers grow in the area of understanding the implications of mathematical reasoning and that balance of mathematical reasoning and skill, discrete math skills. So this is a very broad view. We've not prepared all of the reports for the board. Those will be forthcoming. Dan will be sharing those both in Friday memo and then again at probably the next 2 board meetings. We'll be looking at assessment data, but we did want to give you a preliminary view that while we're still achieving at a rate outperforming the state, we're not happy with it. It's not meeting our expectations for a year of more growth for every student, where every student has opportunities to succeed and achieve.
Questions?
Yeah, so the numbers in, so let's say for instance, in the table that says comparison of 4 or higher.
Sure.
Does that indicate the number of students who in a class that's, I mean, what is that?
That is a percentage.
That's a percentage.
So if you take grade 3 ELA and you look at the district last year, 33% of our students scored at a level of 4 or higher, which means that they either met or exceeded expectations. This year, 36%.
Okay. Yeah, just wasn't sure what the unit number was on those, whether it was 36 individual students or.
No, it's a percentage.
Okay.
And then if, it's not an exact cohort, but if you look at 3rd grade in 2016-17, and you look at, they would have been 4th graders in 2017-18, they started at 33%, they went to 46%, 50% achievement is not great, so these scores to me are not anything to, we have a lot of work to do still.
That's
Is what,
leads me to my question.
yes.
What work are you looking at doing?
So the work that we're looking at doing is actually taking the data down to the subclaim area and taking a look at those discrete areas of both achievement and growth, and where can we look for movement with kids, and particularly in our support areas. If you look at our subpopulations, many of those students are in our intervention groups. We have pretty well-defined intervention programs at each of the school, but are they accomplishing what they need to accomplish by moving kids in the areas of achievement and growth, a year's worth of growth or more in a year's worth of time. And so there are lots of little instructional strategies and tools, and then systems that need to be looked at. Are we supporting the academic achievement of all students? And so through our efforts with personalized competency-based learning, that's the micro focus that we'll have on instruction. And then again, our resources supporting that. So it's just the continued work that we have been doing, probably at a more granular level.
Anyone else? So if we look at the district 17-18,
Yep. In which report?
oh, I'm sorry, comparison of form. It goes, if you go across 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th
Yep.
grade, 36, 46, 57. Is it, I'm trying to see if there's a trend, like with kids that go through.
It's really hard from this particular structure to look at trends. We can drill down to the student level data, and we can actually look at students that were targeted for intervention instruction last year, and their scores last year, their scores this year. Did that targeted intervention, flexible grouping make a difference? And so we can look at the student level data. Also, if you look at the CMAS growth report, if you look at that chart up on the left-hand column that starts in that deep burgundy red and it ends in the deep blue on the right-hand side, that's a continuum band of growth, and we have that on achievement as well. And what that helps us do is identify those students who are in certain bands. They might be approaching, but maybe they were just a point or two off from meeting expectation. And so what areas of deficiency were seen in their testing that possibly we could target again this year to move them into the next category, which is level achievement, which would be meeting expectations. So there's lots of ways to dissect data and to digest the results of it, and we have just started that process, which is why this is just a very generic 30,000-foot view overview.
So in the past, we used to do every month death by charts from the same school. isn't much information, is there a plan for, to walk us through, like, okay, it's PowerPoint somewhere, something else, in some way to, say, okay, here's what we're seeing, look at these things.
So looking at trend data, providing that trend data to you, along with what's the plan for improving, taking advantage of those opportunities that this data has presented us. In addition, we're building through our Tableau system a way for teachers and principals and board even to take a look at data in a graphical form, pie charts, bar charts, and looking for those trends. And we're working with Infinite Canvas right now to build those data tables so that we have on-the-spot assessments of data diving, if you will.
So what about training folks to be able to read statistics? Because there's a lot of stats. This is, showing medians and means here that could look terrible if you look at other trending that would have different, you'd come to different conclusions, and if you're given access to everybody like us, without some sort of training to say, okay, this is how you read these sorts of things.
So Lisa Schulten, our assessment coordinator, actually did a training with our principals when we first received the data and started to put it into the Tableau system. She used the data, letting them know that it was not perfect data yet, but used the data to train them on the system and how they could pull different looks within the system.
I'm not just talking about looks, I'm talking about meaning.
And meaning, right? And then as a student services team, along with Dan, we intend to do data walks this year and have those discussions quarterly with school leadership. You're welcome.
The same test every year?
No.
That's what I thought.
No. The test is, according to the state, they've done algorithms and they've done lots of comparables to make it as comparable from year to year as they can, but the test is not the same. So the test that our students took last year was called CMAS. Part of the test was questions from the PARC test, and others were state designed questions that were PARC-like questions. And the year before, we took the PARC assessment, which was across states nationally. So they believe that the data results are as comparable as they can get them with the algorithms and the statistics behind it that they've used to develop that comparison.
So you have a little bit of
There's a, yes.
wiggle error.
Right. And so while our scores are good, we know they can be better. And we've got work to do to help make them so. Anything
So
else?
this is your chance to remind us that we did some rigorous testing.
I'm not going to remind you.
No, that we did.
You can remind yourselves like that. Yeah, I mean, it's a way for us to, it's one way of many.
I know. That was the softball. This is the only measure.
Right, it's not the only measure.
As we get more and more into the CD, that will be more good.
We'd really love to become a data-driven system where we're using data to make those decisions on an ongoing basis. And we have data that we're unearthing so that we can use it. And to your point, Nick, I think it's really important to provide the training
For me,
and
not just the
support.
reading.
Yeah, not just to you, but really how to read it. Lisa Schulten is an amazing assessment coordinator. She has a 30-year background in education and went into the statistical side of education fairly recently, but has that understanding of the classroom level and the implications that data has on instruction and on learning. So we have some really high hopes for moving positively in that direction.
Thank you very much.
With that,
Okay, moving on, 9A. Am I in the right place? Yep. Student board member charges. We have some comments here, but they're just suggestions. It's going to be difficult without William, I think. What we'd like to do tonight is decide with our students how many times a year we would like to have them engage in information gathering and on what topics, and then get it on the calendar. So the initial brainstorm was school safety, grades and reporting to students' progress, culture and equity, impact of activities and athletics on students, student balance in work life, school life, multiple pathways to graduation. And like I said, those are only suggestions. Andy and I were talking before, and originally we talked about 2 a semester, but we think maybe that's a lot. Because it takes preparation, it takes a meeting, it takes writing it all up and presenting it. And I was going to ask you about the parts of the year that you're busiest and when you're not. So we were wondering if maybe like after midterms, after finals, and then after midterms.
That would most likely work, just
Because it
because
seems like we're always building up.
towards midterm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would actually be a good time for me. I don't know.
Yeah. I think tonight, what do you think? We just make have some suggestions and then talk about it and include William next time.
I also suggest that maybe we have a board designee who works with students
Yeah.
so that we can help them in terms of direction about what these boards are going to do, or what they could be involved in and what we need them to.
And then maybe include the principals with that, so we can have like a principal, a board member, and the student will make the plan, how to do it, how to get the word out, how to gather the data and stuff.
Based on just how to, our process within our technology.
We didn't do orientation.
If we did, then.
I don't think we ever did.
Didn't do well.
One of us failed on the orientation, so.
I don't think we've ever really had an orientation. It's just like throw them in the deep end.
Yeah,
That's why I think having
Yeah.
kind of a board designee to work with them.
That would be
Really
helpful.
good.
Yeah.
Maybe try to get the 6 people together. 3 and 3. I was thinking have a meeting with you and the principal and the board member, and then have you just we do it separate. Can you do it separate?
Or you can have a mentor for your teacher.
Okay, let's
Saying
brainstorm.
that.
What would you like to do? Bradley and John, what do you, as far as having like a board member working with your student and involve you in it to make the plan for the year and how to do things and orient them, that sound like something that would be workable, or?
Yeah.
Do you think it would be awkward to do the 2 together though? Be easier to, as far as time, to do it separately, or what?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes, Rich,
Doing it separately.
separately, yeah. Okay. Okay, so do we have more members that would like to be involved in that?
I can help read this stuff.
Okay. And that could be maybe
Mr.
just
Brandon's
one
not know
or
either, because we've never, for all we know, he's never looked at it.
Yeah.
So I could do that, that's something, and if need be, that's something else we don't have to do. She's always this.
Might be nice, like, just before dinner or something.
Yeah.
As far as how to use the computer and the to read the agendas.
They follow them, pick the right documents.
Okay.
And she observed me not which documents we're looking at sometimes.
And some documents you get, and some you don't, because they're private.
Yeah.
But most of them are.
But also not just looking at documents that we have, but contributing to what we talk about.
Well, yeah, but my point is, it's hard to do if you're not following along.
Yeah, if you can't.
So that's, I'm talking the basic stuff of here's what we're reading, here's the order of the agenda, here's what the documents are in, here's how you find it.
So if Mick takes that off the plate, then the other mentor could work on what are we doing and what are we doing it. So anybody have time and want to do that? Stephanie?
I guess I am by default.
You and I, you could take one school, I could take the other. Do you want to take one and me take one?
Oh, you mean take the picture or?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, let me take the picture.
Okay. John, sorry.
Nothing against John, he knows that.
So, but Stephanie and I will meet with you guys, and we'll come back, we'll put things together and see where we come out.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So we'll get in touch with you about a time we can get together? Send you an email or something? Okay. That saved time.
Very good.
It hunts time, it doesn't say.
Well, this speaks to, we've really worked last year on more community involvement, and this is another big piece, because of course our students are our first and most important community core. So thanks for
And we struggled
the
with this in the
recommendation.
past, it's like, oh, let's do this, and never quite came across strongly.
Yeah.
So we'd like to work with you right this year.
Yeah, and
We're a work in progress with you
Yeah.
guys.
I definitely like the idea of meeting with like the principal and doing that, because then the students also get a view of how we can put it out to the other students and we can get their opinions as well, which would be, I think, might be really helpful towards the board, so we can, go and do things. Thank you.
That's 9A, 9B, mission statement review. Okay, cross out the word review.
Well,
Planning.
we're not going to vote on this
No. What
tonight.
I want to do tonight is not even talk about the mission statement, but should we form a committee? Should we form a group that looks at it and says, we need it, we don't need it, here's the process we should use if we do need something? Because we don't want to get into what should be in it, but somebody to look at it, because we've assumed that we need a new one, but nobody's really looked at it and examined it and put it against our core beliefs that are used quite extensively. So I'm wondering if we should have an analysis and say it's needed or not needed. But I've heard people say, oh, they're not worth the time, and then I've heard people say they're important to an organization. We need to first make that decision. Do we need to work on this or not? Or can we just decide on that now?
I was one of the people who said, I think mission statements are mostly.
But traditionally you have one.
But the district convinced me that it's important to them. So just because I think they're not worthwhile is irrelevant. If it helps them, then I think you should pursue updating whatever you want to call it.
And I'd like us to analyze it in terms of what is quantifiable here. There are things here I feel like I can say with assurance that we're innovative because I've seen what we've done over the last 7 years, okay? I could check them off. There's some things here. I have no idea whether or not we've really given lifelong learning attributes because nobody comes back 10, 15, 20 years later and says, yeah, I'm still learning. I'm a lifelong learner because of what I learned at 9R. You know what I mean? I'd like to look at it in that regard, that we can follow through on what we say our mission is.
That's interesting, because my spouse, who is ELL and German and stuff, she has folks showing up at her testing center at San Juan College. Remember in this swing hammer? I was in your third grade class, the kid's 6'2". You know, so it's like, no. But I'm still learning. That's
Yeah, that's good. That's an example.
but it's a way to, it's also a way to collect. It's collection.
Right, how do we do that? I mean, we don't have to do chapter and verse, but I would like to just make sure that whatever we say our mission is, that we're able to, when somebody says, well, how do you know that you are, that your graduates compete and contribute? I mean, there are some quantifiable ways to do that. So
Maybe
that's the way
that's
I
part
want
of
to look at
it,
it.
that's part of the duty then. So how do we want to do this, ladies and gentlemen? Do we want 1 or 2 board members and some admin? Do we want to keep? First step seems to be like it should be small, like if we're going to create a process.
Should we get feedback from the board on what has been brought to us tonight? Is that a start? Everybody kind of sends you yes, no. Like I'd like to add military service, okay? That kind of, well,
That's words.
That's content.
Yeah, that's
right.
content.
Oh,
So what's the process?
How are we going to do this? So we need to decide, and that could be just 1 or 2 people from a couple of different.
The board had discussed at the work session, actually reaching out to stakeholders to get a sense of what key words or phrases or terms really represent the work that we're doing, especially as we move into that personal competency-based model or expand upon what we're already doing. I don't know if you feel that that's too far reaching at this point, and perhaps internally the board
Well, that
has
would
that
be part of
conversation.
this group's mission would be to say we're going to meet with the community or we're going to send out a questionnaire or something.
So one option, to Stephanie's point, would be to do that exercise internally as a board. Perhaps you have your board and Dan go through that, come up with those key terms, see if there's alignment, see if there's consistency with the 5 board members, the 2 students, and Dan, and then from that, start a conversation that could build upon a survey that goes out to the community members. When I hear the conversation, it doesn't seem like the board's ready to go prime time across the whole district. But
No,
I can
that's what I'm
see
saying. This group's mission would be to say how we're going to do it and start creating a calendar for doing it.
so I like that putting it on the work session agenda. Okay. Working amongst us first.
So it's really hard to narrow it and say what is the process before we say what's in the process. But can we, do you want to do that at the work session? What is the process that we want for doing this work? That sound right? That sound right? Listen. You come to. And if any of the administrators have experience writing, being involved in creating a mission statement, we'd like to hear from you too. Not what's in it, but how you go about revising or creating a mission statement. Because if we can clarify the steps, then we can simplify the work and expedite the work. Okay, so if you have ideas, if you have experience, talk to us, email us, whatever, anybody that's done anything like this. Okay? And then we'll put together the next meeting. The goal is to finalize a process for doing it. Then we'll see if we need committees, if we need groups, if we need surveys, whatever we need. Okay? Unreasonable? Okay. Moving on. Board development, staff outreach. Oh yeah, this is about dinner dates, coffee dates, and how many you want. This is a suggestion, it is not.
I I'm going to suggest that we change the October 30th. It's right before Halloween. If parents and families are working on costumes and kind of figuring out what they're going to be doing, it's not the best night to ask parents to come to a dinner. So maybe like the very next Tuesday or the Tuesday before, which I guess would be the 23rd.
Are these meeting nights?
No, those were chosen, those are 3 months that 5 Tuesdays occur in a month. So if you recall last year, we selected the Tuesday in between a work session and board meeting. This was just a stab at, okay, let's just find those. There was 3 months that ended up having 5 Tuesdays. So it's completely
It is, like I said, I can hear some staff saying that's not the greatest night to want me to come out.
It's no doubt.
You know, exactly.
So this is the 5th Tuesday? We could move it to between the two meetings?
Oh, yes, yeah, we did that last year. So, absolutely.
What would that date be? The calendar?
You wanna- Like you mean for October or November? I can bring on my calendar. You
So
know.
October 23rd would be a board meeting, so October 16th would fall between the work session.
16th, October 16th. I mean, if you guys don't agree, if you think
No,
it's,
I think that's a good idea.
You know, April 30th is really close to court list. It's our finals graduation.
yeah.
So,
Same thing with,
January's fine, the one's on either end.
so
So then, same thing, instead of April 30th, would you like to look at April 16th?
16th. Shakespeare's the date. We can have a little birthday that day, I forget which one.
That actually was just.
So it sounds like everything is at the office October.
16th.
I don't think anybody's complaining about the January. So go October 16th and April 16th. What do you think, Amy?
October 16th.
So that would mean 3 weeks in a row there's meetings, but the other ways there's one and then 2, so. And we do want to keep them on Tuesdays, right? Is that the day people kind of say?
Actually, Fridays are fine, except to say.
And not snowed
Fridays
out.
are not fine for first day off.
I just said that.
You were kidding, right?
No, I said Fridays are fine for me, but then it occurred to me that I might be alone.
Might be a party of one. Okay, good. You know what time the coffee dates are?
No, those were just.
Usually
You all
lunchtime.
talked about it. Andy was just asking me what was the thinking on September 10th.
So if you guys do Monday, Wednesday, I can't just do all different people of the day.
September 10th is
Oh,
our.
wait, no, Darren was saying they would be changed times, some are morning, some are noon, some are afternoon. Because then you hit different people in the community, some can come at their lunch breaks, some can come before.
We don't.
So we could name the times on ours. Also, it doesn't have to be Monday and Wednesday, you're free always on Thursdays.
Well,
Or no, just Thursday morning.
in the morning.
May
People who
consider,
work, people who work, are there times or days that are good for you?
No Tuesdays, Monday and Wednesday, good.
I tend to work East Coast time, so.
So you're gonna get a different answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't all have to go. They, on the coffees, we only need 1 to 2 people.
You could go Wednesday afternoon, I can't go Monday at all.
you may reconsider the September 10th date. Last year, we had a couple staff members attend the coffees. That's a professional development day. So,
I thought that's why we did it. We thought we were gonna do a session and people who wanted to come and,
so I didn't know whether that was a true coffee at agenda setting we discussed, and we have built in a Q&A with the board on the September 10th day. So it's not going to be a coffee, but it would be a similar engagement activity. So we have scheduled you, I think, for the 9:45 a.m. slot. It would be just a Q&A with our support staff. There are about 45 different professional development sessions, training sessions that our support staff will be going through. You'll be one of about 6 different offerings at that time slot. So board staff members could attend that one or other ones. So and you can structure it as you see fit, whether you discuss coherent governance, whether you want Dan there to do it with you or not. I think we're open to a variety of ideas, but we are going ahead and building it into the schedule. I think it's at 9:45 to 10:45 at Durango High School on September 10th.
And then Dan has coffee that's a little welcome to drop in on too, so if you can't make the meetings, you might drop in on one of his to just meet people. But these are ones that we would sponsor. It would be about us.
Well, given what Andy just said, September 10th is kind of taken.
So we'll keep that.
Sure, we have, that's a in-school.
So that would be.
So you need a different one for
Community.
Actually, Monday mornings tend to be
And to be
good for me.
good.
So if we could be on the docket for morning time on Monday, on the 10th?
9:45 to 10:45.
We're not talking about coffee right?
Not really, it's.
So
We
my
can
suggestion
make
is that we, that's a professional development.
Yeah,
We take
it's
it off
different.
this list and then we add an alternative date that is more community-based.
Right, because we're not going to get any community on that day. So September, February, we're in the spring.
We had a lot of success in Dan's coffee that he did in September of last year, and so I think in addition to what he's doing this Thursday, there would be merit to doing one early on in September and October that you're engaging with community members, especially as their sons and daughters are 3 to 5 weeks into the school period. So I would encourage you to look at the mid to late September or early October for community engagement session.
All the open houses are the first, except for Durango High School, they're all through the 11th of September or something like that. So maybe
What about
half
November?
open houses. So perhaps, and so Wednesday afternoons, I can do anytime afternoon, Monday mornings.
Monday mornings tend to be good.
So,
Any day but Tuesday, fine with me.
I'm okay with this. So,
Sarah's looking at September 19th, and after his June one for Dan's schedule, would that work?
September. September.
Nancy, would September 19th work with the board schedule?
it's a Wednesday.
Or September 19th.
Actually, September 19th should be very good.
Yeah, it's after all
Sure,
the open
that's
houses.
fine.
That's fine.
It doesn't, well, I can do it at lunchtime, just I can't do it in public.
So you guys want to pick a day or a time? But we don't want all of us there, otherwise it's a meeting, we want like 2 at each meeting, every 2 weeks, right? So,
1:45.
45 on the 19th.
Terry and Nick. 1:45.
September 19th, at 1:45.
45, Sherry and Nick.
You care where?
No.
I don't do coffee, so it doesn't matter. Okay.
I've been to ones at the library, they get those rooms at the library, use the conference room.
You can see if they're, Sarah, could you check, see if the coffee shop at the library
Actually-
is operational?
Oh, yeah.
If they're open?
That's nice.
And you can still get your coffee.
The underserved east side, Upper East Side.
The Upper East Side, do they have a room? Or
It's all of them, it's one big one.
That's in Three Springs, I guess.
No, it's right out of 160. It's right at Three Springs. I don't know if it ever really.
Back room doors. Oh, find a place. You two are gonna host it, right? And then you guys will advertise it like in the Herald or something.
The other problem is it's really.
Sure.
They close it too.
Well, that is probably.
Sure.
They're really sure.
But you get coffee, coffee.
Maybe in the morning, could they do like?
Yeah, let's do that. So Stephanie and I will take Wednesday, February 6th at 10 a.m.
Okay.
And then Joe can join one if he's able to.
Yeah.
But then you'll have
And the Pete,
notice.
Right.
Just notice it.
who will excuse him, he has a hard time during the day because of his
Right.
work. The one at the high school, the PD day, are we going to designate people?
I can't.
The 10th, September 10th.
September 10th at 9:40, or 9:45 to 10.
You said-
It's a Monday, right?
Yeah, I think it.
Yeah, I can make that.
And you want Dan to co-present or not be there for that session with support staff?
Show up.
Stephanie, can you do the 10th
I'll have to have you go here, governance. Andy mentioned that.
Yeah.
What else do I need to review?
I think it's just a Q&A with our support staff, so.
Okay, yes. So Nancy, is that you and me?
And yeah.
Sherry, that's a no for you. I can't, yeah.
If it's a PD day, does it count as a meeting?
Yeah, anytime, yeah, because you're talking.
We can step out the door. Okay, so what I have so far is, as far as the dinners, October 16th, January 29th, April 16th. And then coffee dates, the professional development day, September 10th at 9:45, Nick, Stephanie, and Nancy. Wednesday, February 6th, 10 a.m., Nancy and Stephanie. September 19th, 1:45 p.m., Sherry and Nick. Right. Organized. He's smart.
You put me next to you, she put me next to you, that's what you got. Usually I'm smirking off into the side there, you never know. Huh? I cannot like.
All right, consent agenda. Can we have a motion for the superintendent and board's consent
I
agendas?
move that we approve the superintendent's and board's consent agenda.
Second.
Discussion?
Sherry Bird, aye. Stephanie Marin.
Aye.
Rick Souter.
Aye.
Nancy Stubbs.
Aye. And people in the audience, we are going to be going into 2 back-to-back executive sessions. And then when we come back, it's only new business. So if you would like to go see your families in your house or have a cup of coffee or whatever, please feel free to go.
Thank you.
Can we have a motion for the 11A personnel matter?
Board to enter executive session. Discussion, discussing personnel decisions, specifically the superintendent's summary evaluation authorized by CRS 24-6-4. Those present in executive session shall be members of the Board of Education and the Board of Governors.
Second.
Second.
Sherry Bird.
Aye.
I did send two.
And you'll let us know where the copies are. Yes.
But they don't even read in.
That's fine.
The,
I can read on that. Are we going away, Nancy?
Yeah.
Are we going?
Yes. Take a cookie if you like.